Oh, I've had the best journey of all. Um, I've never been sick, never get colds or flu. Always have surplus energy. Um, could sleep very well. Could work actually longer because of the type of food that vegans eat.
Hello, big dreamers. I'm so excited. Today we have Ed CABIL. Ed is such an incredible person. I'm so honored to be here with you right now. You started so many after school clubs and donated a lot of your own money. And you won the 1994 American Teacher Award. You've won countless awards. You're the director of the Coronary Health Improvement Project. I am just so stoked to talk with you today. How's it going?
Well, by God's grace and mercy, I am making it day by day. And so is everyone else on this earth.
Oh my gosh, you're awesome. We connected at Air One when we met. You said that you had been a vegan vegetarian for like over 40 years. Can you tell me
Yeah,
more about
it'll
that?
be 40 years next year. Next April will be 40 years.
Wow, wow. Yeah, and was it that you're specifically vegan or plant-based, or what is your philosophy on and everything to do with the Coronary Health Project?
I got initially started because actually when it was not trendy. Um, my dad died from heart disease at 52 of a massive heart um, attack. And I did my own personal research and I discovered that the cholesterol that had clogged up his arteries came from animal foods. So that I looked and said, that's kind of simple. It's not a big sacrifice to give up animal foods. And I got started. And I became a Seventh-day Adventist about a year or two later. And their philosophy is that your body is the temple and God dwells it within the temple, and you keep the temple clean and wholesome. And which means that no alcohol, no drugs, no smoking. So my wife was Adventist way before I converted, but the two went hand in hand. I had already started my quest to be sure that I was not going to have a heart attack and leave my children fatherless. So I went on this venture on my own and did research and started doing my own cooking and and here I am now, almost 40 years later, a vegan who is still teaching others how to overcome degenerative diseases.
Yeah, it's so awesome. What year was it when this whole transition happened for you? How old were you?
Actually, it was my wife was pregnant with my second child, my son, and I converted because I wanted him to make sure that he was going to see his dad eating right so he could have a role model. But I wanted to preserve my life initially. But that was in 1975.
Wow.
And so he was born in 76. And from there, I just started progressing. It's really amazing. When I joined the church um, in 75, um, they had a nominating committee and I was elected helper and temperance leader. And I asked, what is health and temperance? And they say, oh, all you got to do is read a few books and tell people what you read. So I said, I could do that. I'm an educator. So yeah, that would be easy. And there's a book written by um, Ellen G. White called Counsels on Diets and Food. And it is a powerful book. Actually, she won an award posthumously because of all the accuracy in the book. And anyway, I used that book, and it was a guideline for teaching others. And some listened and some didn't. But the ones who did listen, they had less degenerative diseases and problems than the others that did not listen.
Mm. And what were the tips that she was talking about that prevented the degenerative diseases? Was it really just the animal foods or other?
Well, it's all around. There's a acronym called New Start: nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, which means you avoid everything that's bad and you take in only that is good in moderation. Air, rest, um, and your spiritual growth. And so those acronyms, that acronym New Start, was a major part of the CHIP program. And CHIP, Coordinary Health Improvement Program, was designed to attract people who were trying to overcome their illnesses, mainly diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and some cancer and some other diseases as well. And so we had a doctor. The Adventist Church is filled with doctors, and they all volunteer. So we coordinate our efforts and bring in the nurses, and we provide a plant-based food. And then we do lectures so people can be educated, and then they can taste how good the food is. And then we do cooking classes so that they can know how to prepare it. And those who listen, those who participate, they are winners because they come back and give powerful testimony on how well they are doing now.
That's so awesome. Wow, I love that. So you created a program that really does educate people about, how to heal themselves from the inside out, prevent heart disease, using plant-based nutrition and all of these like lifestyle factors. I love that so much. And just to give our listeners and viewers some background for a second, so the New Adventist, this church, this is really similar to, if you've heard of the blue zones. So the blue zones are basically the zones in the world where people live a lot longer than normal. And these are places like Okinawa, Japan. There's a place, an isolated island in Greece. And one of them is actually pretty close by. It's Loma Linda, California. And that blue zone is really specifically because of the Adventist church there and the community. And they're taking care of themselves from the inside out and eating the right foods, just like you were saying, like the body is the temple. So this Adventist church, it's really, really cool to me to think that, that's not just in Loma Linda. There's, I'm sure, little pockets all over. And it's really cool to learn more about it. So if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
I'm 76.
You're 76. So you started this vegan journey. Wow. And has there been any kind of backlash or health scare, or tell me about that?
Oh, I've had the best journey of all. I have never been sick, never get colds or flu, always had surplus energy, could sleep very well, could work actually longer because the type of food that vegans eat, it burns slowly. That's why athletes eat a lot of pasta before they go to the marathon, and so they can have this long-lasting energy. So my son, who grew up as vegan, transformed himself into a bodybuilder. He started taking in other animal products and stuff. And he was like 6'1", 290, with big arms and big chest. And we would do things like move furniture and stuff, and he would get tired, and I would and so I would tease him about the difference between being a vegan and a non-vegan, because he doesn't have that long-lasting power to withstand endurance that would be needed for moving all day long.
How funny. Wow.
And that's no joke. That's real talk. You could work the whole day and not even eat much. That's been one of my great rewards. And one of the real secrets to being plant-based is that you build a strong immune system. And the secret to an immune system is incorporated into getting proper rest. You try to get at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep, and a particular 2 hours before midnight. 2 hours before midnight is better than 4 hours after midnight, because the body has a time clock for repairing. And so from there, you want to make sure, oh, by the way, the centurions who from these blue zones, they don't particularly exercise. What they do movements. So we never retire. We find something that we can do, we stay active. We can bend, we can stoop. And since we don't have animal food that produces excess uric acid, we don't have the crystallized joints. So we are free to bend and stoop and move and run and exercise freely without pain. And so I don't have those kinds of problems like someone who's 76 years old. Um, so I'm really grateful. But the immune system is the key, because when you sustain something that you should not have had in life, like if we had a gentleman yesterday who came and gave a testimony. He was a vegan, plant-based for like 30 years, and he had an accident, and the doctor knew he was not going to walk again, nor talk. And within a month, he was both talking and walking. And the doctor attributed that to the fact that he was in such top shape.
Wow.
And so there's a benefit of having a plant-based diet active in your life.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Yeah, thank you for this testimonial. It seems like so, yes, like so clear to me as a plant-based dietitian. Yes, everything you're saying, I've seen it happen over and over again, these miracles of people. Yeah. I remember a guy, I used to work for Dr. Furman, he couldn't even walk across the room without having severe chest pain. And, we just changing his diet was really able to reverse his condition. And I've seen this with lots of different conditions. And it would make sense to me that, yeah, you're really preventing a lot of sickness and a lot of, yeah, joint pain and things. I feel like as we get older, we don't have to get sicker. So you're such an inspiration in that way. And thank you. I'm really curious what a day of eating looks like for you. What do you enjoy to eat?
Well, I usually awaken with fruit. I believe that you start the day with fruit first. Fruit clears out quickly, and then I use grains. But I had a severe reaction to I had a sinus septum surgery because I had an injury once playing football, and it would frequently swell, and I ended up having infections. So I had all that cartilage removed, and I guess I was coming out of anesthesia, and a nurse gave me something that she shouldn't have done. She gave me something called Narco. I had never had any drugs in my life. And I had according to my naturopathic doctor, I had a severe allergic reaction. And so I did this special blood test and saliva test, and I was able to discover that it had turned my hormones upside down, and I had to put those back in balance. So I went on a gluten-free diet, and so I eat gluten-free cereal in the morning. I use bananas. I use a little nuts, just a small amount, not much. I have blueberries, banana. I eat strawberries, kiwi, and it alternates from day to day. But I use chia seed, flaxseed, all the different seeds and the nuts and the grains. Is what Adventists believe in. In Genesis 1:29 in the Bible, when God created Adam and Eve. Let me back up a little bit. People usually ask me, well, you're a vegan. Well, what do you eat? Just grass? And they laugh. And I said, no, since you've been funny, who made you? And they would say, well, God made me. And I said, well, then when God made you, think about what General Motors did when they made their first cars. The engineers had to design a gasoline for it to run, right? So if you buy a car, you look in the owner's manual, you will find what kind of gasoline you need to take, right? He said, yes. I said, but then look in Genesis 1:29, for your body, God tells you what you should eat to have the fuel that he made your body for. And so that's fruits, grains, nuts, and vegetables. And so that's the diet Seventh-day Adventists use. It's based on the scriptures. And so that's what I eat during the day. And then and during the midday at lunch, I'll have some quinoa or salad. And I usually try to make it the largest meal in the breakfast, and then a medium at midday, and then smaller at supper time. And so I like greens. Uh, I like the greens, especially the mighty greens that serve the Erewhon. and and I like squash, and I like rice. Um, I like dal and jackfruit curry. So I eat those intermittently all the time.
Yum. Dal and jackfruit curry. Oh wow, that sounds really good.
And then I cook myself. I'm making a cookbook now, actually. I've been writing this cookbook for like 20 years. All my members waiting for it. And the reason why it takes the book so long, because there's been a transition from food. Food has changed over the last 20 years. So we got now to look out and make sure we don't have genetically modified. We don't have food with natural, I said natural flavor, but artificial flavors. So you got to have food that is pure in nature, from the hands of God, unaltered. And from there, my cookbook would make changes, because there would be things like hidden MSG in food, and you stay away from processed food. So there's a lot of good things that'll be forthcoming in the cookbook. And now I can put it all together because it's been exposed to the public.
So awesome. And I will definitely be on the lookout for that. And I'll definitely tell my viewers, everybody about that. Wow, I would love your cookbook. That's so awesome. I'm very curious. Somebody who's been plant-based for 40 years, you raised your child plant-based. Do you take any supplements? What supplements do you take? Tell me everything.
Well, I used to take only vitamin C um, and a multivitamin, but not even every day, because I got most of my vitamins and minerals from the food. But when it came to flu and cold seasons, I would double up on the vitamin C. I discovered something. Dr. Linus Pauling wrote a book about vitamin C. And before I became plant-based, I would often get colds and flu. And I remember his book stating that if we were to incorporate anywhere from 2 to 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day for a short period of time, it would build our immune system and resist bacteria and flus. And I tried it, and it worked. And from that point on, I never had colds and flus. I always had a strong immune system. So I'm a strong believer. Just have a well-rounded, balanced meal that's pure and wholesome. I only eat organic, no artificial flavors, colors, preservatives. If I can't pronounce it, I don't eat it. I don't buy it, really. And so my food is the purest and the most wholesome food that you can find on the face of the earth.
That's so wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And is your wife, and you said your son, what are their diets like? Is it the same?
Well, unfortunately, I lost my wife to breast cancer. She had the gene. Matter of fact, she had 8 sisters, and 4 of them passed from the gene that's related to breast cancer. Yeah. And so my son, like being a bodybuilder, he born vegan until he was 16, and when he started dating, he was too embarrassed to say holy meat. So he would come home, and whatever he did, I could tell, because he would be regurgitating loudly. And so I would tease him about that. But when he gets sick, he goes back to his upbringing. He goes strictly vegan.
Wow. What challenges would you say you had? It sounds like it's been such a wonderful journey. Did any challenges come up? Or what's your biggest challenge, you would say, if there are any?
Well, my biggest challenge is to be able to tell people what a real illness experience is like. And I just shared that with my church about 2 years ago. I would go to wellness centers across the USA. And I would bring back information about the wellness centers and people who I talked with. But I had no personal knowledge of what they were going through. And so I shared with them that when I had my nasal surgery, that God had that designed so that I could have an illness. And the illness was an allergic reaction. And that allergic reaction put my body into a shock in more than one way. I have a muscle condition that came as a result of that allergic reaction. I've had, because no one told me exactly what to expect. And so I had these spurts in blood pressure. And it would like rise up really high. And I had to go to ER several times in the hospital, things that never had occurred to me in my life. But it can happen to anyone if you get a pharmaceutical drug and you have a reaction to it. So I was able to give a personal experience of what that like. And because of my immune system, because of my connection with the naturopathic doctor, I was able to help reverse that condition from having the knowledge of that. So my personal knowledge with that is being shared. Even just yesterday in church, I did a health presentation and I shared some of those findings with our members, because people go through those experiences and they don't know. So I encourage everyone to see a naturopathic doctor. If you have any kind of illness, make sure you get a reading on your blood and your saliva to know what your hormone balance is, because you could be eating foods that you're allergic to and you don't know it. And it can be contributing to your problem. And get those readouts, find out exactly what you need, and go from there. And so far, I've had some great response. People are saving up their monies and making that venture to make sure they know exactly what's going on in their body.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's definitely a movement happening now where people are recognizing that these synthetic pharmaceutical drugs really do have a lot of side effects and maybe have some things that are harmful to us. And taking a more natural route is actually these natural, even just food, it's very powerful. There are more natural ways that have less side effects, that are a lot safer, that we can hopefully turn to first and not have a reaction like that. Thank you. That was really good tips there.
I say that I know that God led me into this situation that I got myself in with that nasal surgery. And it was a reason for that. Being perfectly healthy all my life, from the time of 1975 when I changed my diet. When I had the surgery and had the reaction to narco, which is a painkiller, and this is what causing a lot of problems. People are being prescribed painkillers, and they don't know what to do with that. It actually serves a useful purpose initially, but shortly thereafter, when you try to wean off of it, it is so difficult. And I had never had a drug in my life, but that narco gave me a reaction like I had never dreamt of before. And so I was able to, because I'm so connected with a lot of different health professionals, I was able to connect with CBD. And I was able to use CBD in a real, and I had no THC in it at all, just CBD by itself. And it was prescribed by a doctor. And I was able to transition from painkillers to natural supplements within just a month or so. And I think the world should know that, because people are trying their best to get off those drugs and they can't do it by themselves. But that's my personal experience. Plus with the diet and with the assessment of what's going on in my body balance-wise. So once I was able to identify the imbalances and then have prescribed for me the perfect supplements and diet, I was able to overcome that. And that's been my personal experience to my church members, to let them know that you don't have to hide behind that. It is a prescription. The pharmaceuticals used to use CBD up to 1937. And then when people were able to grow and use their own, they decided to go a different course with it and malign it and make people think it was really bad. And then in the 60s, when my generation came along, and and it was free love and free use. So everybody started looking at it like, oh, I can't do that. That's a bad drug. But they don't realize that when it's in the CBD form, it's helpful for children, for babies with epilepsy and all that. And unless you really knew it, you would never experience it. So you experience it, and then you would know the effects of it. And you don't have to use it all the time, just a short period of time, and that's it. And you can transition on, exercise, and use the herbs, supplements, and put your body back in balance, and you're good to go.
Definitely. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Yeah, CBD is amazing. These products that we have now, yeah, oh man, I'm so glad that you've gotten benefit out of that and that you were able to have a connection with a good practitioner that knows about these up and coming things. That's really awesome. Oh, wow. What are your top tips, would you say, for somebody to start improving their health and start diving into this without getting too overwhelmed?
I going back to my school days at Jarmia Middle School, um, I incorporated the same health benefits in the church into the schools. And so I started a health club. And what I did, I invited the city councilwoman, Jan Perry, to a meeting. And she was so amazed at the educational health level of my students. And she went back to the city council and she told us that she was going to make a presentation to get a resolution to have meatless Monday. And it happened. It happened. So it starts with just maybe one day a week, go plant-based, and then get a chance to see it, how it's like, what it's like. And then from there, you may go 2 days. But if you can go 3 days a week, you're going to feel much better each time you have that experience. And then you'll be able to equate what's really best for me, the plant-based food or the non-plant-based food. And it's always going to be the plant-based food is going to come out ahead because you're going to feel better and you're going to react better, you sleep better, everything. So, yeah, and that's the first tip I will give. And what I do with the church, we put out flyers and advertisement, and we have free plant-based tasting for the community. And so they come in and they get a taste of 15 different entrees. Wow. and 4 different salads. Just a taste, and so they can know that we're not giving you just 1 or 2 choices, but 15 different things that you can live with, and you know that they taste good, and that you can incorporate those in without being tired of just 1 or 2. And so we've had great reviews from that. We're going to do our next one in January to start the year off in 2019, so that people can make their New Year's resolution and have something solid to base it upon.
Wow, 15 things to try. I have to be there.
Yes, you would enjoy it. You would enjoy it.
Let me know how I can help. How incredible is that?
Oh yeah, we'll ask you to make a dish too, because you are in that field, and so you can make a dish and stand behind your dish, and when people ask you, you can explain what it is and the benefits of it.
Oh, I would love that. That's
yes.
Awesome. Wow, thank you. Gosh.
And a copy of that is on the website too, on the Berean SDA Church website. Okay. And you go to menu and you go to health, and you can see that the community sharing dinner.
Awesome.
Pictures are there.
I'll definitely put that link down below too, and so people can check it out if they're local. Wow, neat. So I have a really so inspired right now. Everybody, like, this is amazing. How just, wow. I know that your diet is amazing, and I'm curious, do you have a mindset practice? Do you meditate or
We call it meditation as well. It's not a yoga style. It is actually a spiritual style. Um, when we think of the goodness of life that God has provided for us, and we can reflect upon that in a means of thanksgiving and praise and in worship. That's our means of meditation. But it starts with the cross, and we are so grateful and so thankful in praise and worship for God for providing us the good health and all the well-being that we have.
it's beautiful. That sounds like just having a gratitude practice. Yeah, just being really grateful for what all we've been given. That's beautiful. And is there anything else that you enjoy doing on the day to day? Just any like hobbies or things that other things you're involved in you'd like to share?
Oh, I like creating things like the cookbook and writing. Um, I do newsletters. I I have a gift for teaching students to become lawyers. So I've had law clubs, mock trial programs for middle school kids, and many of them have gone on to prestigious schools in law at Yale and um, other prestigious schools as well. Um, and I like sports. Uh, I excelled in sports in high school, and so I like to keep kids active in basketball, football, softball. And that's what the New Adage program was about, providing those alternatives so kids could come to the gym and not be lured to games or drugs. They will be under adult supervision from the time the school bell rings to end the school day until time is almost dark to go home. So they wouldn't be under peer influence, but under influence of someone who trained them to have their body in top shape and to develop their skills and talents.
It's so wonderful. Wow, yeah, such a creator. I'm really inspired by that. I feel like it's really neat to talk to somebody who like, oh, what do I do for fun? I create all of these things, you know? So cool. Wow. Well, thank you. I so much appreciate everything that you do, and I'm sure there's lots of people who maybe they do, maybe they don't really acknowledge you for all of the incredible things that you're doing for the community. So thank you so much. And I'm very curious if there's something that people don't ask you about a lot that you'd really like to share.
Well, I usually initiate the conversation because I know how people are. They're kind of laid back. So I usually ask, "How are you doing today?" And they would say, I'm doing okay," or whatever it is. And they would ask me, and then I would always respond, "By God's wonderful grace and mercy, I'm making it." And then sometimes people would laugh, and I said, "Well, whether you know it or not, that's how you're making it as well." And that'll initiate a conversation, and then we can go from there. But it brings out the goodness in people, and you discover that that person who asks you how you're doing is also creative and also doing some things. So we find something in common that we can talk about, and then we can perhaps plan and do something for the school's children and do something for the community when it comes to plant-based cooking, because everybody cooks. Most of everybody that I know cook.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
That was so awesome. Wow. So you're saying that, from what I got from that is like really to just start a conversation with somebody. This day and age, it's really funny how we don't really communicate. Like there's so many people around, but we're very
Right.
much on our own, like in our own world. So I love that. I love that. There's always something to learn from somebody and to connect about and to feel understood with somebody. Oh, that was so wonderful. Awesome. And my last question, I'm curious, what would you say is how do you define success? What does success mean for you?
Well, for me, success is not a basic concern, although that is true that I look forward to a goal to be reached. And my goal is the one of giving back, um, give back to the community. That's what you saw in the video, so that others may benefit. When I was a young boy, about 8 years old, a gentleman named Lou Boudreau uh, saw us in the park, and we were 8 years old out there fighting. And he'd say, "Hey, break it up, break it up." And he put us into a baseball game and gave us bats and gloves. And he taught us how to play baseball. And then he got competition for us across town. And from that one experience, it was so positive and see how dedicated he was, that it just captivated my imagination of what I want to do in life. And that's where I am today, because of people like that. And I think that I should continue on to give and train others and incorporate that same giving back philosophy, so that the world will be a better place for eons, years to come.
Wow, that was so inspiring. I'm so inspired. I don't know, like, I can't wait. I hope everybody listens to this and gets inspired as well. Wow, thank you so much for your time. And I'll definitely, please send me links. I'll put the links down below, making sure everybody knows about you and is able to take advantage of all of these things that you're doing to help the community here. Wow. If there's anything else that you'd like to add or share.
Well, I just think people just need to not only be careful about um, the food that they eat, and know that food has made now a transition from its natural form, the way God created it, to an unnatural form in the laboratory, and also to look at what they drink as well. The waters have high levels of contaminants in it. So I have people now getting the TDS meter, total dissolved solid meters, to see what their levels are, because there are metals in water, and some of the metals, if they are excessive, could cause some damage to the body. So that's one of the things I want to make sure that. So everybody at my church now is testing their waters and making sure that they have 0 to no higher than 5 parts per million of total dissolved solids, and they feel confident that this will help them in the long run.
Thank you so much. Good tip right there. It's so true. So true. And to stay hydrated.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, my friend.
All right.
All right.
All right. It's recording again. Go.
Yeah, but I also had John Sally. John Sally's an ex-Laker, famous basketball player. He's retired now. But I had him come to my school, and we did an assembly. And Peter organization helped sponsor it. And we were able to have an assembly educating students about the value of plant-based diet. And we gave them a plant-based meal, all 1,500 students. And we also gave them some fries and some vegan ice cream. And this was the first experience kids ever had. And from that point on, we were able to have a health club that was very active in cooking classes and changing the diets of the students at my school. Several families said that they had gone vegan because of that one assembly program that we had, and the experience of eating a lunch that was very, 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 very tasty and healthy.
That is so awesome. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Awesome. I'll definitely put that in. Good. Okay, awesome. Wow. Well, you have the most incredible, wonderful day and life, and I'm sure I'll see you again at Air One. I hope.
Yes.
Oh gosh, have such a great day. I really appreciate your time. I'll send this to you when it's finished.
Okay, Fran.
Yeah.
You take care. God bless.
Ed CABIL is an English teacher and an inspirational force at John Muir Junior High in the gang-ridden community of South Central Los Angeles. Hello, I'm Michael Eisner, head of the Walt Disney Company. Ed is a leader in the classroom, on the school grounds, and in the community. Over the past 23 years, he has created programs that improve his students' education, combat drug abuse, and keep them out of gangs. In the classroom, his daily battle is to help students overcome the dangerous influences of their environment and become productive members of society.
And so, for today, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, I want to present the proclamation declaring today, March 22nd, as New Addict Youth Development Program Day in Los Angeles.
And this award goes to one of the epitomizes a teacher that is like that. This is to Edward James CABIL. Edward is going to say a little bit when he comes up
here. The spearhead of the ABC program in Region C, which provides scholarships to inner-city students to attend prestigious prep schools. Without further delay, I give you Mr. Edward CABIL.
For the past 24 years, Edward CABIL has been a member of the John Muir Middle School staff. How remarkable. That's wonderful. During this period, his talents have led to our school being a beacon of hope in the community. In 1974, he developed the core program for at-risk students, which enjoyed a graduation rate of 98%. In 1988, he established the New Addict Youth Development Program. This alternative after-school program has more than 19 interest clubs, in addition to interscholastic sports involving 12 schools. Edward CABIL possesses high moral commitment, outstanding instructional skills, and exceptional integrity. Congratulations.